Hey everyone, my name is Michelle Corazao-Dinu and this is Realization Hub. Welcome. Today's video is an energy update for July 2021, but whenever you're watching, this is an intuitive reading, a bit of a channeled message that came through about July 2021. And so, whenever you're watching this, whether it's July 2021 or some other time, it is a timeless message, usually filled with good insight and wisdom, anyways. So, before we begin, I do want to make an announcement. Last month, I started offering group sessions, and each month I'm offering group energy healings, a free guided meditation, and a group channeled message. I also have a free class coming up. It's starting at the beginning of August. It's a free class, free introduction class for my program called the Radiant Self Program. And this is an intuitive self-healing and energy awareness program for embodied living. And it's where you learn all kinds of energetic tools to help you manage your own energy, move beyond your limitations, have clean interactions, and really start to feel empowered, whole, healed, balanced within your spiritual journey, whether you're going through a spiritual awakening, embodied enlightenment, or beyond that, or you just feel that you need to heal. This program's for you. So if you are sensitive to energy, if you are going through spiritual awakening or embodied enlightenment and struggling through that, if you just want to be more in touch with your intuition and understand how energy and intuition works, this program is awesome. So if you're interested, there is a link below in my description box, and you can sign up for that free class, or you can get more information if you are interested. All right, so I want to get started with the July's energy update, and we're gonna start with the energy for mass consciousness. All right, so when I was looking at the energy of mass consciousness, it actually seemed like there was this big spiritual reckoning starting to happen in mass consciousness. And before I talk about what's happening in July, I want to give a little bit of a backstory or perspective on what's been happening with mass consciousness up until now. If you look kind of within the last, I don't know, I guess you could say 2 to 4 to 8 years, you could say that mass consciousness has been coming into a greater divide or a very strong division within itself. The globe, mass consciousness, it's very much been divided, and that division keeps getting stronger and stronger and stronger. Okay, and you can see this play out all the time. I mean, I think some of the most obvious examples are politics, where politics are very divided, but also race, ethnicity, different countries, social groups, levels of income, like things you can just see where there's so many divisions happening on the planet, and they just keep getting stronger and stronger. And really, if you were to like simplify what's happening and really look at it from like an energetic lens, really there's just one main division that's happening on the planet energetically. And that's between what some would call like the old and the new. One division of the planet and the energy of that division are those individuals that want things to stay the same or revert back into older tradition, older ways of doing things, and like almost like go backwards in change. Okay, so you might call that old energy, all right, where these individuals, they don't trust change, they don't like change, they don't like the way this is going, they think staying the same is very much reliable and safe, and they're kind of like holding on really tight and really worried about the planet, just like the new energy people seem to be very worried about the planet. But the old energy people, the way that they're responding to that worry is to stay where they are or go backwards and revert the change and not change anything at all. Okay, so then you've got those people who are very much in the new energy, and they're very open to change. In fact, they really want the change, and they are very much into their imagination and innovation and ideas and visions and and just finding new ways to change the planet in some way. Okay, so with that said, there is a pretty big event happening in July. So what I see happening is that after this long extended time of the planet having to like really slow down and shut down and go into long periods of quarantine, this has forced individuals around the planet to just, most people, to slow down and to go home, like literally go home and go within. Okay, for a lot of people, this is the first time where they were just kind of like forced to sit on their couch and do nothing and just like be internal. Okay, a lot of the world and a lot of mass consciousness is very much external, and they're very much rooted in the outer world. Okay, and this pandemic and this shutdown and this kind of quarantine period really slowed everything down and forced so many people who usually wouldn't go within. Okay, so within that long period of time, with more and more people going within, a lot of people have come to a new understanding of themselves, new clarity about their life, connected with themselves more, and what brings them joy, what doesn't. Okay, so thinking of that kind of dynamic, going into July, I'm definitely sensing the energy and mass consciousness of kind of like re-emerging into the world. And, maybe you can already see it in the United States. Things are starting to open back up again and go back to, full openings after a long pandemic. Okay, so this trend might continue into July, where other countries and other places are starting to open back up again and re-emerge into life. However, I am feeling in mass consciousness this sense of like almost like putting on the brakes, because I like feel that mass consciousness wants to re-emerge into life again, but as they re-emerge into life again, they're like, hold up, I do not want to do this anymore. I don't want to go to this job anymore. I don't want to relate this way. I don't want to do it this way. This is not working for me. And mass consciousness is really feeling how like, you know what? This is fundamentally not working. Whatever structures we have, whatever systems we have, it's not working. It's not supporting me. And, I just spent all this time going within and connecting with myself and like getting clarity about what I like and what I don't like. And now I have to go back to normal and go back to that life and just like continue on after all that happened. No. So I really feel that energy of like putting on the brakes and mass consciousness kind of refusing to go back to normal, even though things are opening back up again. Sure, there's definitely some people out there, definitely lots of people out there going back to normal. But I'm talking about the energy in mass consciousness. Very much energetically, there's like a lot of this pondering and frustration and anger about going back to what life was after that period of time where they were connecting with what they truly wanted or who they truly are or what brings them joy or helps them enjoy life in general. Okay, so how is this going to play out? When you have a large amount of people, all of them kind of divided, and then you have some people going back to normal life and some people just kind of slamming on the brakes and saying, we can't do it this way anymore. This is not working. No. Okay, so this is what's kind of been leading up to July. So in July, this is where I see a very big energetic event happening. And I'm going to go ahead and say that in July, I don't think we're going to really see how this plays out in the physical reality, okay? Because it is very much happening energetically first, okay? So we might start to see the effects of this energetic event later on in the year, but July is when the energy is happening. This energetic event is happening. And what I see happening is basically mass consciousness kind of coming to a dead end energetically and saying, okay, we can't live this way anymore. And it's almost like standing at the edge of a cliff, like you feel like you're at a dead end, you can't move forward because there's a cliff. What do you do? All right. And this is prompting mass consciousness to kind of go into a bit of a daydream state or a desire state, thinking about, oh, I have to go back to this life, but this is what I really want. And let me daydream about what I really want. And how am I going to do that? I'm going to daydream about what I really want. And I really desire what I really want, but how is that even possible? How am I going to do that? And that's kind of what I feel mass consciousness doing. It's almost like they've come to the edge of a cliff and they're like, man, I wish I could just fly, but how do you fly? How do you do that? This is where I see the energetic event happening, where mass consciousness starts desiring what they truly want. Okay? They start to desire what they truly want. And although they may think that they're just daydreaming or imagining or just in their desires, but what's happening is spiritually, they are starting to rewrite spiritual agreements on a global level and spiritual dynamics or energy dynamics on a global level. They're basically starting to rip up all the agreements and starting to kind of deconstruct all the dynamics, and they're putting into place energetically new agreements, new dynamics for new structures on the planet. Okay, so it's almost like rewriting a book for what this world is going to be, what the new world is going to be. Okay, so that's what's happening spiritually. And the best way I can explain this is like, pretend like you were living inside of like an apartment building that had 2 floors and you had neighbors living above you. Okay, imagine that like for a whole month you just hear a bunch of ruckus up on that 2nd floor. You have no idea what they're doing, but you hear pots and pans clinking, you hear coughing, you hear screaming and yelling, you hear talking. There's literally like a reckoning happening on a spiritual level in July. And it's just like having neighbors above you that are making a bunch of noise and you have no idea what they're doing. It's like, what are you doing up there? You're making all this racket. Like, I can tell there's a lot going on, but I have no idea what's going on. And that's kind of what it's going to be like for mass consciousness in July. Like, stuff is changing energetically. Stuff's being worked out energetically. And actually, it's not being worked out energetically. I mean, there's like I said, there's like a reckoning happening. So this division on the planet where people are kind of battling it out, like we want it to stay the same, we want it to change, that's all happening, energetically, spiritually in the month of July. And again, maybe it doesn't play out in actual physical events on Earth, but it is happening energetically, and everything starts energetically first. So the point is, there is kind of like the book of the new world being rewritten in July. What I want to say about this is that these new spiritual agreements that are being written, these new energy dynamic structures that are being put in place, they're going to be affecting everything, economy, health, housing, family dynamics, relationship dynamics, technology, like everything. Okay, so one of the things I started picking up on in July had to do with the dynamic of home. You know, in the past, home has been where your family is. It's been like one house or one home that maybe you grow up in. Maybe you live in a state or a certain country, and that home just stays there. Okay. What I see happening, like starting to happen now, but increasing this trend into the future, is where nomadic living starts to become a bigger trend, where you actually don't have a home. You're literally working remotely and living in different places, maybe for a month, maybe for a year, maybe for a few months. But what used to be like a home is now kind of being blown apart. And what I see it trending towards is nomadic living, where there's going to be maybe a lot of remote work, where maybe technology comes in and starts to kind of take over some of the physical labor jobs and some of the tedious jobs that really no one wants to do anymore, okay, and make that more efficient. And then we're going to be left with lots of people with maybe no jobs or working at home kind of jobs. And what this sets up is like this new dynamic of freedom where you no longer have to live in one place, or maybe your work allows you to move to different places. So what used to be very segmented in the world into countries and little governments and bigger governments and continents now turns into something that's really shared amongst the entire globe, where your home is not a country, a state, a continent. Your home is planet Earth. And this nomadic living starts to increase, where maybe there could be like housing units that are formed, where like there's housing groups all around the world that share their housing with each other. So instead of having a home related to your family, your home is more related to like a union, where you might be a part of a union that has homes in various places in the world, and where you live is within those locations and those specific houses owned by that union. So that's just an example of a trend that I start to see happening of nomadic living, and your home and the dynamic around home really changing, where your home is not just one place, your home is the globe. And like really far out into the future, there might be more interplanetary type travel where really literally Earth is your home. So that's way out. I mean, I don't actually know when that happens, but I'm gonna go back to July. So going back to July, I might say this is kind of like the beginning of the end. And I could have said that like 2 years ago, when the pandemic started. Like, this is the beginning of the end. This was the beginning of a large shift happening on the planet that was going to lead to some really fast change over the next 10, 15 years, 20 years, So I could again say this is the beginning of the end. This is the beginning of the end of the division on the planet. And it's not because everyone's coming to resolution and working it out and agreeing on things, okay? Actually, that division is going to stay. But the difference is that energetically, things are going to be rewritten in July, and that sets the tone for kind of the new world moving forward. And what happens is some of the people in the old energy or the new energy, some of the people in the division, some of them might match that new world energy, and they might kind of slide over to the other side, okay? Some of them won't. Some of them are still gonna stay and want things to be the same, okay? And want to revert and go backwards in time and how things used to be, okay? And what I see happening is that that group of people, that division, they are eventually not going to be able to tolerate being here, because in a way things are changing, and that group will not be able to tolerate literally being on Earth because they can't have it. And so we might start to see a continuance of people leaving the planet, okay? And that shows up in many different ways. We saw that already happen through the pandemic, where the pandemic kind of hit and a lot of people left the planet. Maybe they got sick and left, maybe something else happened and they died and they left, okay? Same thing with this group, this divided group. You know, it's they might naturally leave. They might find like a disruptive event on the planet and get involved and leave. You know, we might see more events where groups of people are kind of wiped out or left, or they leave, you know. So I haven't looked into the details of that, but the general essence of what I was getting was that July kind of marks this point, this turning point, where there is like a new kind of book written for this new world, if you want to call it. And the people that stay divided, one of those groups is not going to be able to tolerate where this planet is going, and they will eventually leave, to put it simply. So, like I said before, mass consciousness isn't really going to be conscious about this energetic event. It's, if anything, there might be a little bit of awareness that like something's happening, but I really don't know what it is. You know, just like if you were inside of an apartment and the top floor had a bunch of commotion going on, you can hear stuff happening, you know stuff's happening, but you actually don't know exactly what's happening, okay? And that's because it's very much a spiritual or energetic event that's happening in July, not necessarily like a physical event playing out in our, you know, physical world. Now, I really see this triggering the mental body of mass consciousness, where people are kind of like hitting that dead end in their life, and they're like, okay, I'm being called back into normal life, but I cannot go back to the way things were. I can't go back to that job. I can't go back to that relationship. I can't go back to this structure. I can't go back to this life. It's not working for me anymore. And so all this energetic stuff starts happening in July. Hey, like spiritually, like all this energetic stuff starts happening, and it's really triggering for the mental body of mass consciousness. It's just kind of like overthinking, like, how do I get from here to here? How do I go from A to Z? How do I go from here to my dream? How do I make this happen? And like really trying to figure it out and really trying to understand it, and, you know, maybe experiencing more stress, more anxiety, more just mental body charge or nervousness, because that's how the physical body is responding to all this stuff happening kind of spiritually in July. So again, I want to come back to this kind of image that I saw of mass consciousness standing at the edge of a cliff, because this is kind of important. When you're at the edge of a cliff in your life, let's say metaphorically, you can either turn around and go back to where you came from. You can stand there and be stuck. You can fall off that cliff, or you can fly. Okay? And mass consciousness is not going back. You know, they don't want to go back. All right? They don't want to go back, and they're kind of stuck right now. However, they know that they can't just fall. You know, they don't want to fall either. So they want to fly. Mass consciousness wants to fly. But I just want to like put you in these shoes right now, like so that you understand what I'm trying to say. If you had to jump off a cliff or something, it would have to be pretty important, right? Like you wouldn't jump off a cliff if someone was offering you a can of green beans, right? But if someone was offering you your dreams, maybe you would jump off that cliff, right? So this is kind of the pause that I'm feeling in mass consciousness where they're kind of stuck, they kind of hit a dead end, and suddenly they go inwards once again, like, what do I really want? What do I really need? Like, just like, what is it that I'm gonna leap for? What's gonna make me fly? All right. So this resistance and this fear to kind of mass consciousness around taking a leap into a new world or a new way of living does have that fear and resistance for a reason. And it's just to kind of slow everything down just a little bit longer so mass consciousness can really connect with like what they want this new world and this new way of living to be like, and then go for it and just like fly off that cliff and leap. All right. So mass consciousness is preparing to have a leap, and it's kind of already happening in July energetically first. Maybe not in the physical reality, maybe not in physical world, but the preparation for that leap to happen is happening. So how is this impacting you watching this video? Well, for some of you, I'm noticing that a lot of shadow work is coming up. Like a lot of your dark aspects or dark disassociated parts of you are becoming very activated and wanting to integrate. And the reason why you're doing that spiritually is because, well, you want to make a decision about what you want and what you desire and what you're going to go for and leap towards from an integrated place rather than a disassociated place that lacks consciousness. Okay, so for a lot of people, they may be experiencing a type of shadow work because, in a way, you as an embodied, going through your embodied enlightenment or a spiritual awakening, you're a part of the new change that's happening on the planet because you are kind of shining more consciousness than the average person. So as a spirit or as a soul, you're kind of bringing home some of that dark stuff so that you can really generally shine a greater potential for the whole world to choose. Okay, shining a greater potential, shining new potentials that were unseen simply by existing and just being more conscious. Okay, and you're doing a lot of that shadow work and bringing those dark aspects home because you're wanting to make that potential that's available for everyone to tap into very much an integrated potential. Okay, so I just want to give you a heads up that if you have been going through a lot of shadow work recently, it's because you are attempting to get brighter, okay, really fast. You know, you're trying to go faster so you can get brighter and energetically more conscious and energetically brighter, so that there is more potentials available and greater potentials available for mass consciousness to kind of leap into, so to speak. And for some of you, you might even feel a leap percolating in your own life, like leaping into moving, leaping into a new job, a new relationship, ending something, beginning something. Like you literally might be becoming aware of a leap in your own life and preparing to take a leap in your own life, or contemplating a leap in your own life. And that may be because you're picking up on the general energy of the world and mass consciousness getting ready to take a leap. So some of you may be feeling a little bit more mentally activated. You might actually feel a lot of fear coming up. These are all examples of just kind of how mass consciousness might be impacting like the weather, the energetic weather on the planet, you know, just a little bit mentally charged, a little bit fearful, a lot of shadow work. Okay. And the wisdom I just want to share about this is if you feel that you've hit a dead end in your life, you have not hit a dead end in your life. You are just prompting yourself to take a leap and to fly in your life. And all that really means is that you're entering into something new in your life that requires you to trust yourself more. Okay, just know that you haven't hit that dead end. You're just being prompted to fly because you really just can't stay where you are anymore. Okay, and you're not alone if you feel that way. Mass consciousness around the whole planet is feeling this way. You know, just I can't stay where I'm at anymore, and I guess I'm just gonna have to take a leap. Okay. And so this may literally be playing out in people's lives where they feel like they're taking a leap of faith in their own life. It might not. I really just for the month of July see this as a very much an energetic event where whatever is being rewritten and whatever is being changed in the dynamics of planetary structure and the new world is a bit of a leap for mass consciousness to take, and it requires a lot of trust. And yeah, that can be intense, right? It can be, if you've ever had a leap of faith in your own life, you might consider how freaked out you were, how much your mind was maybe triggered through that, and just like all the days you had to just like be in the present moment and just breathe through that leap of faith and just like trust and trust and trust. Okay, so this is happening on a mass conscious level. It's happening energetically first. And again, when things happen energetically, it can take some time for it to show up in the physical. So we might start to see the impact of this energetic event happening later on this year, or maybe sometime next year. So I just wanted to share what I picked up about mass consciousness because I thought it was kind of amazing. You know, it seemed to be kind of a big deal. So now I want to talk about those of you who are going through your spiritual awakening. For those of you going through your spiritual awakening, when I pick up on kind of the essence of where you're at, I really can tell that you just want your life to feel better and be better. And in a way, I can sense that you're trying to make things work and you're kind of trying to hold it together in a way. And this is where I just want to give you a very gentle and just honest reminder that spiritual awakening is many cycles of allowing your energy to break down. Belief systems, old dynamics, karma, agreements with other people, things you're holding on to that are not yours, identities. All of that starts to break down. And it is a little bit like renovating a house. You gotta really clear everything out before you rebuild it into something else. And so what I want to say is that I can sense that you need change in your life. I can sense that you want change in your life. And you're very much a part of this kind of dream landscape that is happening on the planet right now, especially in July, where everyone's kind of wishing and desiring for a new way of living, a new life, a new world in some kind of capacity. And for you, you're very much a part of that. However, because you are awake and you have some consciousness, you know, I can see that when you start to desire that change or tap into what you want or just, you know, put out that strong general desire of change, energy starts to respond to that. And suddenly things start getting taken away from your life. A relationship falls apart, a job falls apart, you have to move somewhere suddenly, a sudden change happens. whatever it may be. But that is energy responding to you needing that change, and very much giving you that and happening very quickly. But then I kind of see you, especially that human part of you, that just kind of freaks out when that happens. Like, I want to change, I really want change, and then things start changing, but I don't want change in that way, and you try to hold it together and make it work when it's trying to fall apart. Okay, so I want you to look at this energetic breakdown as a good thing. It's like cleaning out your closet. You got to clean out your closet so that you can have new clothes inside that closet. Same with your life. For you to have that change, some things have to fall apart so that they can actually come together. And this is really what I feel about you in July. And I think that it's very important in July for you to really take time to connect with what you want. Because if you're just kind of generally putting it out there, like, I just want my life to change, well, your life might just change. And maybe you don't like the way it changes. So the more you come to clarity about what type of change you want and what you need and what you desire, and the more you have a clarity about that, you can put that intention out there, and you can watch things start to change in your life to kind of serve you up that order that you're needing, that change that you're needing. So I just want to remind you, if you're in a spiritual awakening, you're going through this experience of really wanting to have a better life, but yet things kind of are falling apart and you're trying to hold it together and keep it together, just remember that you're putting that desire out there that you want change to happen, and you have to actually allow it to happen so that it can happen. And a part of that process and that experience of allowing things to change in your life is very much letting things fall apart so that it can come back together again in a new way for you. All right? So what I recommend this month is a lot of maybe journaling or ways that you can connect with yourself and your heart and what you truly want. You don't actually have to figure it out. You don't have to try hard to make it happen. You just want to tap into that desire that's kind of like opens up your heart and says, yes, this is what I want. All right. And then once you kind of put that out there, you can just allow the changes that start to happen as that kind of gets served up to you. So practice working with connecting with yourself, and practice just kind of putting out an intention into the world and then letting it go, and just watching how things change throughout your day or in your life so that that new change can come in. For those of you going through your embodied enlightenment, I am really kind of psyched for you, because I feel like July could be like an inspirational poster for you. Like, anything is possible, because I really start to see you becoming very aware of very old and maybe even strong patterns, even wounding. Okay. So I want to just kind of share what I'm seeing about this first, and then kind of interpret it for you. But I'm kind of seeing you walking on your path, and you've got all these like wormholes like around you as you walk, and they're kind of dark. And I think these wormholes represent like your old patterns and your old wounding. And in the past, you might be walking down your path and like you'd see this dark wormhole, and it'd just be like so seductive, like, doubting yourself, or I don't belong, or this isn't going to work out for me, or, I can't afford this, or whatever that wormhole might be. Okay, and I could see like in the past, it used to be so seductive to be like, oh, look at this dark wormhole. I'm going to go and touch it and engage with it. And then suddenly you're sucked into that wormhole, and it brings you into a different reality, and that reality sucks. Okay, You suddenly stepped into a wormhole of your own energy that was actually like a wound, and then all of a sudden you're experiencing that wound in a whole new reality, all right? A whole different reality. So what I see happening in July is very different. Instead of you walking on your path and falling into the seduction of going into these wounded wormholes, okay, I see you kind of looking at those wormholes and saying, I'm not going to touch that. I'm not going to go there. I'm going to keep walking. And you keep walking and you keep walking past these wormholes. And you're like, I know what that wormhole is. I'm not going to go into that reality, that wounded reality. I'm going to keep walking. So I see you like breaking this pattern of like falling into the seduction of your wounding. And what becomes stronger as you do that is kind of walking towards that beautiful kind of greater potential that's somewhere in front of you beyond these wormholes. And although I don't really see you finding the wormhole of your truth, I see you like feeling guided towards it, walking towards it and ignoring all the old wounding and all the old wounded wormholes that used to seduce you and take you off your path and sabotage you and ruin your experience. And instead of doing that, I just see you walking past them, no longer engaging with them, no longer touching them. It's kind of like that button in the room that says, don't touch this button. And you just can't help it. You got to touch that button. You know, you're not doing that anymore. You stopped. In July, it just seems like you stopped touching your wound buttons. You know, it's like you've got all these little buttons for your wounds, and it can be so seductive that I just want to press that button, right? But you don't do it. In July, it's almost like you have like some kind of clarity come through, or some kind of inspiration, or some kind of calling or guidance, or just your truth becomes more seductive than the wounding is kind of what I sense, where it's like, oh, you know what? I could go there again. I could press that button. I could go in that wounded wormhole, or I could just keep walking because there's something calling me. There's something calling me, something's guiding me, and I just gotta walk towards it. I don't quite know what it is, but I'm gonna walk towards it. And it just feels like this anything is possible energy. So I truly feel like July is like a milestone for those of you going in and through your embodied enlightenment. You might look back a year from now or 2 years from now and say, that's when everything started to change for me. That's when I turned a corner. That's when something started to come together. That's when this change happened. That's when like I stopped falling into old patterns and I went into something new for myself. Okay. So I guess if I was to put it into a nutshell and just like summarize what's happening in July, it seems like you're breaking that old pattern of falling into the seduction of your own wounding and how that used to really disrupt your reality and kind of take you off of the path towards some greater potential for you. And I actually see you just continuing to walk towards your truth, continuing to walk towards your light, continuing to be called towards something. And that brings you into a new reality. But that reality is aligned with your truth, and it's much different than those wounded realities that you used to get sucked into. So, like I said, July could be like an inspirational poster for you. Like anything is possible. Don't listen to the old baggage. Don't listen to the old wounding. Just keep walking. Keep going towards what you're being called to. Trust in yourself. Keep going. Just keep taking your steps. And it looks like you're headed straight into it. So with that said, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. It really helps me out a lot. I think I touched my microphone. Sorry about that. All right. Take care, everyone. Bye.